My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. So if you're a real estate investor, chances are you have either thought about or you're actively getting into the multifamily space, or at least you've been kind of poking around with it. And maybe you're even thinking about syndications and getting into syndicating. Well, our guest today, Bernadeau Charles, is zooming in all the way from beautiful Orlando, Florida, and he's doing both. He has a portfolio of small multifamily properties himself, and he's also getting into the syndication game. He's got a couple of syndications under his belt. So we're going to have a great conversation. Bernadeau, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Dave. It's good to be here.
All right, my friend. So tell us the Bernadeau Charles story. First of all,
right.
That's a hell of a name. I love it. And those are both your first name, right? So
that is correct. Two first names. That's right. Let's see. Where do I start? So, I'm from Haiti, so a small island in the Caribbean. So I kind of grew up, with the whole go to school, get good grades, get a good job. So I followed that path. I went to college, got my degree in engineering. I graduated back
in Haiti.
No, here in Orlando, here at UCF.
Yeah, I'm thinking because your accent's pretty good there, buddy. You picked up English really, really well. So
yeah, no, I've been here a while. I've been here since I was 9, so I've been here a while.
Right, that explains it. Yeah.
So I got my degree. I got a great job working for the Air Force out in Oklahoma, and so I moved out there for a couple of years. And I thought I had made it. I was excited. I was happy. I'm like, man, I graduated. I got a great job, making a good salary.
Yeah.
Started working, and I realized, oh man, this is not it. And also, I went and got me a brand new car a year after working. So I got a brand new Camaro.
And maybe a little bit of student loan debt from before. I don't know.
For sure. Got some loan debt. I got a brand new car because I deserved it, right? Because I had worked so hard. And about a year later, the best thing happened to me. I got into a car crash.
Ooh.
And the car was totaled. Right. So.
But you weren't, thank goodness.
I was fine, but the car was pretty much a goner, right?
Yeah.
And so it woke me up because I was asleep. I was working a salary job, but I was struggling because I was making these high car payments. I was paying rent, right? I was barely surviving, but yet I was making a salary at a great job. And so it woke me up from sleeping essentially, and I just dove into, books, podcasts, meetups, conferences, and I found real estate. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, some other books as well, and
you learned the term doodad.
That's right. And so back in 2019, I started my first meetup. I bought a property, and I just gradually just kept buying more. I got a high on the cash flow. I'm like, hey, I'm making this small cash flow, and I don't have to be in the office or in a cubicle for it. This is amazing.
So what was that first property in 2019, Bernadeau? What kind of property was it?
Yeah, it was a small single family home, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, very small, big backyard. Bought it for $115,000, right? So very small, but it was moving ready. I found a tenant and I was cash flowing day one. It was like, beautiful. Oh man, you know what?
Got that little taste of that passive income, huh?
Correct. I got that taste. I'm like, hey, if I can just multiply this, amplify it some more, I can leave my job over time, right? And so I just kept, buying more and more. And here I am. I'm about 11 doors, small multifamily, and I have a few more as well, syndication wise. And so I dove into buying apartments because hey, it's the same math, it's the same amount of energy I'm putting out in buying a duplex. So why not buy a 40 unit or a 50 unit, right? And so now I'm doing both in parallel to just kind of scale up, a bit faster that way.
All right. So you've got the personal portfolio, right? Are those all in and around Orlando, or where are those properties?
So they are scattered in Florida. They're not in Orlando. I have one in Brevard County, which is about an hour east of Orlando. And I have a few more that are in North Florida, so Ocala, and I have a lot in Tallahassee as well. So a couple hours away from me. Yeah.
So do you self-manage those rentals right now, or do you have You are self-managing.
I do
Okay. Yeah.
self-manage, Dave. I wanted to go the property management route, but as you know, as you start small, getting a property manager just eats you into your profits, so it
Mhm.
doesn't make sense in the beginning. And so now I'm still self-managing,
Yeah.
and I'm about to hire my first person probably next year to kind of get that time back.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Hey. Well, hey, you know what? It's really smart to do it this way, if you ask me, Bernardo, because you get the firsthand experience of what it's like dealing with tenants, the problems they're having, the calls you're getting, all that kind of stuff. So when you do hire somebody or you do outsource this, you can call BS if they're trying to pull a fast one on you, right? Because you know what it's really like. You've done it for a year or two or whatever it is. So good for you. Now you're building up the buy and hold portfolio, your own portfolio. You're also starting to do syndication. So there are lots of different ways people get into syndication. Tell me a little bit about what it is that you do. Are you investing passively as a limited partner in syndications, or are you on the general partner side of things? What does that look like these days, Bernard?
yeah, so I began to learn about syndication about 2 years ago, I would say, and I just love the whole process of it, right? Just the idea of funding a deal and raising capital from investors and buying a bigger deal to kind of go farther. And so as I mentioned before, I started a small meetup here in Orlando, which grew and got pretty big here in the
Nice.
market. And so through that avenue, I met somebody who was doing a deal. It was two RV parks, 45 units total. And so by virtue of me knowing them and them knowing that I wanted to get into the space,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to invest passively with them, but also be invited into the back door and kind of see how things are done, right, from the GP
Nice.
side. And so I'm like, hey, you know what? This is going to be amazing education to be able to invest passively, but also learn the ins and outs of doing this, right? And
Oh,
so
we call that pay to play.
pay to play. So I paid to play. And
Nice.
so after that, I got my first deal done on the GP side about a year and a half ago, and that was 66 units in South Carolina. And my role is primarily acquisitions, underwriting the deal, the market, and so forth. So
Uh-huh. All right. So fantastic. So where do you see the because well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, uh, Bernardo. So syndications are great, and everybody loves the idea of doing syndications. What I've seen over the years, the little bit of involvement I've had in syndications and interviewing a ton of syndicators, is it typically it's a number of people on the GP side, three, four, five, eight, 10 general partners, depending on the size of the deal and what's happening. And then there's the limited partner side, so the passive investor side of things, where they're literally, depending on the size of the deal, are between dozens and hundreds of passive investors involved there. And that's all great. But at the end of the day, the slice of the pie that the general partners get is very, very small. So quite often it's a 70-30 split. All of the general partners share 30%. Limited partners, the passive investors get 70% of the whole deal. And then you're splitting that 30% amongst yourselves dependent on how much you're bringing to the table kind of thing. So at the end of the day, you might be actually much more profitable from the small multifamily property that you own all of versus the syndications that you own little tiny slices of. And I've seen a lot of cases where it's a big part of the income for syndicators are fees and management fees and that sort of thing to kind of get the deal going and keep the deal going. What's been your kind of your outlook on this now that you've been a GP on a couple of deals?
Dave, are you in my head? Because I feel like you are reading my mind right now. It's kind of crazy. But no, it's been exactly that because I've done, like I said, I've done two so far. I just closed one a few weeks ago. And so it's a long-term play, and you're right. The pie is very small to begin with, and it gets split amongst all the GPs, right? So you're not eating a lot, and sometimes you're not eating until the end of the hold, which could be
Right.
3 to 5 years, right? So hence why I'm a buy and hold guy at heart, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm using the syndication piece as a way to supplement, right, and take those small pies that I get and dump
Yeah.
that into the buy and holds to be able to go farther ahead, right? But yeah, it's definitely not a get rich, get paid quickly. It's a long-term thing, and the pay is very small. So you do more deals to be able to kind of get more funds coming in
And that
on
was
the
the pet
side.
peeve I had too as well, Bernardo, was it's supposed to be passive. It ain't very passive. It's definitely not passive for the GPs.
No.
You get the small piece of the pie, and then typically you're liquidating, you're selling the thing at the end of 5 years, and you got to do it all over again. So it's kind of, that's my pet peeve with it. So yeah, I'm glad that I understand what you're doing there as well. I get it; it makes sense. But this is the funny thing. So I hear people talking about, I've got 3,000 doors in my portfolio, or I've got a portfolio of 8,000 units. Well, yeah, you're you're part of a bunch of syndications, and you're part of the GP team of a bunch of syndications, and you've got a tiny slice of that. It's not that it doesn't sound impressive, but there's a little bit of that gets played around with in this space. I sure hear that. So hey, I love the fact you're doing both, right? So talk to me a little bit more about the buy and hold side of things, your own personal portfolio, and what you're doing to move that side of your business ahead.
Yeah, so I am slowly acquiring smaller deals, just me and my wife, right? And
Yeah.
so
So
every
like
year,
what size? Like triplex, fourplex, that idea, duplex,
2 to 4,
two
yes.
to four.
So
Nice. Yeah.
pretty small, right? And so every year I get 1 to 2 a year, maybe four, right? And so we're looking to kind of grow that space. Right now we're up to 11 doors, and
Nice.
those are just me and her,
You and your
long-term buy and
wife. Yeah.
hold.
And
Yeah.
you are you
And
are you open to some ideas here, Bernardo, to just help you? Because I think your goal is to not necessarily leave your job right away, but have the ability to leave your job should you want to, like have enough income from real estate to walk away from the W-2 if you
yeah,
wanted to. Is
well,
that
I definitely want to. That's for sure. But yeah, but the goal is to be able to leave, and have enough income from the buy and holds where I can travel more, see my daughter more, go on
yeah,
trips, and not have to be tied to a cubicle, every day. So that's
I
the
hear that.
ultimate goal. So I'm using the buy and holds. I'm using the small pie of the syndication as I can to dump into that, right? But I'm definitely open to ideas as well to kind of grow more and faster
So
if
I'm
possible.
just thinking, if I were as young and good looking as Bernardo Charles is, if I were in your shoes, my friend, what would I do? Being the old guy with the experience that I've had, I would maybe consider doubling down on the small multis, because you've got a system in place, and you're definitely going to be putting a system in place with the management where you could kind of, you kind of rinse and repeat, right? You could kind of cookie cutter what you're doing, what you're doing, sort of thing. But what I might consider doing is bringing on joint venture partners, right? Because right now you're self financing those properties, which is great, and you own the entire pie there. And we've been talking about pies lots here, but here's the big difference. If you bring on partners for those smaller deals, you can do a lot more of them. And instead of having a tiny slice of a pie, your percentage of 20 or 30%, you bring the deal, you bring the know-how and the team. Your investor, your joint venture partner, brings the money and perhaps the qualification for financing. You join forces and you go in 50-50. So that way you're growing your portfolio of buy and hold properties long term. You're not going to be liquidating these in 4 or 5 years. Long term buy and hold properties with other people's money. Sure, you only own half of it, but you've got zero money in the deal of your own. You're just bringing your knowledge, your expertise, your team to the table, and you can just, I mean, we've worked with tons of clients. That's how they're able to go from 2 or 3 doors in their portfolio. It reminds me of a couple of clients we worked with a few years ago, Jamie and Leslie, husband and wife team, kind of like you and your wife. They had 3 doors in their portfolio. We started cracking the code with them on raising private capital. They went to 47 doors their first year. That allowed Jamie to quit her job, allowed Leslie to quit her job. Year 2, they went up because they got into multifamilies. Year 2, they got up to 88 doors because now they started getting into bigger deals, 22 units, that kind of thing. 88 doors. Jamie quit his job and they've never looked back. So it's definitely very, very doable. And the beautiful thing is you've already got a track record. You've already got experience. You know what you're doing. And my feeling is it's actually easier to raise capital for those kind of deals than for the bigger syndications.
Gotcha. And I guess, and maybe my only question to that would be, oftentimes a JV partner is going to want an exit to get the capital back, right, in a couple of years. So, as a long-term buy and hold guy, are you suggesting that we just do a refi, pay them off, and hold it longer, or?
Yeah, typically that's what people do. So some folks are looking for those kind of properties that they can have some lift with. Mm-hmm. So they get into the property, fix it up a little bit, do the BRRRR method on it. Other people just buy a pretty decent property, fairly turnkey, and then it's a little bit longer term, but yeah, they pay down the mortgage and then refinance 5 to 7 years, pull out most, if not all, of the investor's capital, and then carry on from there. And typically the joint venture partner retains some sort of ownership in the deal moving ahead. So now here's the beautiful thing, Bernardo. If they're happy with how things are going with that deal, guess what they're going to do with their money? Reinvest it with you, right? Yeah. So that's the beauty. Yeah. So anyhow, it's just food for thought.
I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll give it a thought.
So what are your plans for the next year or two? Where do you see life taking you and things going over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so the plan is to continue to acquire more small multifamily and get up to 20 plus by the next 2 years. Nice. Maybe adding a few more syndications if possible, and then just kind of keep going that direction to leave the W-2 here. I would say in the next 2 years is my timeline.
So. That's the goal. That's a wonderful goal, my friend. Yeah, and I'm not saying don't do the syndications, because it sounds like you're bringing your analytical mind to the table for underwriting and that side of things. Yeah, keep doing that till the cows come home, for sure. Why not? But also build up your personal portfolio at the same time. I think that's really, really smart. Awesome, Bernardo. Time flies. We're having fun here, that's for sure. But if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram. So if you go in there, it's Bernardo_buys_apartments. So just go over there and send me a DM and let's talk for sure.
That sounds great. Well, Bernardo, thanks very much for being on the show. This has been great.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll talk to you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.